everybody, Ben Woodruff here with another falconry video. Today's video is about eagles, true eagles, which are the Aquila eagles. Now I've done a lot of research to put this video together. It's taken me several weeks to try to get as many details and maps and information as possible, and to try to get it as up-to-date and accurate with the genetics and everything involved. So because of that, this video is probably going to run long. I might have to record it in multiple segments. The owl video I did the other day, a few weeks ago, I noticed by the end I was really dragging. I had a stroke a few months ago, had a cardiac arrest and a stroke. I'm still recovering, and sometimes my mental faculties are not all there. And I wanted to make sure that this is a good video that has good information for the future, for people to have access to, because I have not seen this video by concept anywhere on the internet. Looked around, can't find it. So what this video is I am going to cover, it's what, 2024 right now, what is currently considered and genetically classified as all the true eagles, all the Aquila eagles. This is constantly changing as we find out more information and as we fine-tune taxonomic classification. So there are some eagles on this list that when I was a kid were considered Aquila eagles, and now they're considered a sister clade or a sister lineage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through all of the current Aquila eagles, and then I'm also going to cover all the members of the closest sister lineage that, depending on where you are in the world, might still be considered a true eagle or an Aquila eagle. So what is an eagle? If you're new to birds of prey and you're learning about birds of prey, you might think, an eagle is a big bird. Not necessarily. So there are all kinds of eagles. You think of a bald eagle. A bald eagle is not an eagle. It's actually more closely related to the kite family. They're sea eagles. Sea eagles are not true eagles. What do I mean by that? I'll get to that in a second. There's also a lot of birds that are called hawk eagles. Now, some of the hawk eagles are true eagles. There's just smaller eagles. There's also hawk eagles that are basically hawks that are as big as an eagle. So there's quite a few of them. Like one of them that's very famous is the Chilean blue eagle. It's got a bunch of different names, but it's basically like a booteal, like a soaring hawk that is the size of an eagle. So you have a wide range, and so what are we talking about? What is an eagle? It's not just a big bird. There's some very small eagles. I'm going to mention some eagles in this that are considered true eagles that are smaller than a red-tailed hawk. So when it comes to eagle is in Latin Aquila. The Aquila family, the Aquila eagles are what are classified as the true eagles. So when we're talking taxonomy, when we say eagle, we mean Aquila eagles. If you're talking just casual terms, there's all kinds of things. Like a harp eagle is, a Philippine eagle. Well, like a harp eagle is one of the biggest eagles in the world, but it's not a true eagle in that sense. The Philippine eagle and also the bateleur eagle, these are members of the serpent eagle family, which they're kind of the kings of the serpent eagles. The serpent eagles are kind of small. These two, the Philippine eagle and the bateleur eagle, they're huge, but they're not true eagles because they're not Aquila eagles. So it's okay with common names to still call a lot of these other birds eagles, but taxonomically speaking, what makes an eagle is if you are genetically part of the Aquila family tree. So that's what we're going to go into. Now, I would beat you to the punchline. The king of the eagle world is the golden eagle. Of the true eagles is the golden eagle. And we'll get to that at the end of the Aquila eagles, and then I'll do the sister lineage. I'll have it marked down at the bottom if you want to cut all the way to that and like, what makes a proper eagle a proper eagle? There's a bunch of amazing species I'm going to go through in this. Now, with birds of prey, with raptors, the females are larger than the males. I am going to give the weights as I can find them online. And the weights I'm going to give are the female weights because the female's bigger. But with any of these weights, please understand, most of these weights, a lot of these species aren't used in falconry. And so the people doing the weights are biologists. And they're doing an average, like, we caught and banded 20 of this eagle species, and here's was the average weight of the females that we caught. Well, the problem is Aquila eagles are so big that they can eat several pounds of food in one sitting. They'll fill up their stomach and then they'll fill up their crop because they don't know where their next meal is going to be. And so you could have a massively overweight bird that's so heavy it can hardly even fly. Or you could have a bird that's really lean and hasn't eaten, doesn't have anything in its stomach, doesn't have anything in its crop, and it's lost muscle mass because it's going through a hard time. You never know. So please be aware, I'm going to give these weights, but remember there is a wide range. And a lot of these eagles, depending on where you're at, like golden eagles, the golden eagles in here in the United States are small compared to the very same species, the golden eagle in Mongolia and Siberia. Those ones are massive compared to our golden eagles here. Or certain other species like the wedge-tailed eagles of Australia, Greater Australia, the ones that are down in Tasmania, are much larger than the mainland Australian wedge-tailed eagles, but it's the same species. So when I go over weights, just understand that. Now also, I didn't cover wingspan because it was all over the place, the range and size. So I'll just kind of loosely talk about how big these birds are, okay? So to get started, the first eagle I'm going to talk about is the African hawk eagle. Now, actually the first two I'm going to be talking about are the African hawk eagle and the Bonellis eagle. These two used to be considered the same species, but now they're separated. So we're going to start with the African hawk eagle. This is a small to medium-sized Aquila eagle that lives in Central and South Africa. It kind of is in an open area bird. It likes open country where it can do big open chases. The weights coming in on this for females are about 5.45 pounds. But again, you always have to, what's the weight range going to be based off of what they're eating. Now, when they're young, they're kind of creamy red. They have a lot of red coloration down below, kind of a tawny red. And then that changes. They get older. They get kind of white and streaky on the chest and sort of black capped. You see this with a lot of the Aquila eagles. Ironically, not golden eagles, which are the most eagle of all the Aquila eagles, depending on how you view it. They're most widespread. But you do see this. This is a common genetic trait among true Aquila eagles, is they are kind of tawny and reddish, rusty. They're first when they're young, and then they get adulthood. Now, I'm going to pause on this and say, with raptors, with most regular-sized birds of prey, a bird like a peregrine falcon, for example, or a red-tailed hawk, a northern goshawk. These are birds that they are full-sized a few months after they hatch, and they have first-year coloration. Once they are 1 year old, they molt and they get adult colors. It's very common. Takes 1 year. At the 1 year mark, they get a new set of feathers. Eagles are different. Most eagles, it takes 5-6 years to get their full adult colors. And there are different color morphs all along the way here. Now, I've done my best to kind of show both juvenile and adults in these videos. So hopefully you can see that. But again, know that it takes 5-6 years. And the odd thing is, I've flown a number of golden eagles, and what I noticed is, I've also had a lot come in with rehab. Sometimes their feathers don't molt out properly. So you could have like a full adult tail, but maybe there's 2 tail feathers that are from like the second year that for whatever reason never molted out. And it's like, that doesn't make sense. So you get some strange things. There's more opportunity for genetic wackadoodle anomalies to occur in feathers if you have 5 or 6 different color morphs that you're going to experience along the way. If it's only juvenile versus adult, then like on a red-tailed hawk, it's not going to take not as many weird things like that are going to happen. But with eagles, you have all kinds of weird things that can come up with their feathers. So again, even with these descriptions and with these videos, just understand there's always exceptions to the rule. So back to the African hawk eagle. So this is a really cool bird. It has a longer tail than one would expect for an Aquila eagle of any size. It's more of a tail like an accipiter, like a goshawk, and this works good for maneuverability. This is an eagle that will hunt in pairs regularly and intentionally. They'll kind of team up, kind of like a Harris hawk. That's really cool. And they use that maneuverability to hunt a wide range of prey. They'll hunt a lot of mammals, but they also hunt a lot of birds, which for a big, eagle, that's kind of impressive. So that longer tail comes in to help for that very thing. They will hunt a lot of guinea hens, guinea fowl. It's one of their main food sources, but they'll even go after big arboreal bats, big giant fruit bats as well. they have been used extensively. This species has been used extensively in captive bred. African hawk eagles have been used extensively in falconry, and they're wonderful at hunting hares of all different kinds. So this is a very well proven falconry bird, and a bird that is very well suited for hunting in the wild as well as in a falconry setting. The next eagle I'm talking about is the Bonellis eagle. And again, remember, genetically, the Bonellis eagle and the African hawk eagle were once kind of considered to be maybe the same bird subspecies, but now they're classified as different. The Bonellis eagle has a much wider range than the African hawk eagle. It's all over North Africa, it's all over the Mediterranean, and even throughout Europe, India, the Middle East, and Southern Asia. It's got a broad range. It's a very successful species. It used to be, again, considered the same as the African hawk eagle, but it's generally considered, even though it's got a different color morph, it's generally considered to be bigger as well. Females average weight 6.7 pounds, so kind of like a bigger version of an African hawk eagle. The juveniles, same thing. The juveniles have that rusty kind of reddish brown, and again, it's going to take them 5 or 6 years of different color morphs along the way until they finally get their adult colors, and the adult is kind of pale and very streaked. Just like the African hawk eagle, this is another species that is a pair hunter. It will hunt, as a couple. And again, we have such a wide size range between the males and females. That can be very helpful because a male can be swifter, faster, and more agile, but the female can back up and grab on to tackle larger prey that the male was able to catch, and the female can then dispatch, which is kind of a neat way to hunt. And again, very reminiscent of Harris hawk packs. They do hunt birds and mammals and hares and partridge and really just about anything in their range. But that is a broad range. If you're going from India and the Middle East to, Southern Asia, North Africa, you're having even the Mediterranean. I mean, this is a wide-ranging bird, and so anywhere it lives, it's very adaptable. And it is one of the most widespread eagles that we're going to talk about today. So whatever it's doing right, and adaptability is the name of the game when it comes to survival. The next eagle we're going to talk about is the Cassin's hawk eagle, which some people now have, in some parts of the world, refer it to the Cassin's eagle. This is an eagle, or a hawk eagle, that lives in the Nile floodplain and throughout the Middle East. It's a very handsome bird as an adult. It's very wide-chested and has really, solid black cap. It looks like a lot of other species of hawk eagles around the world. But the thing to remember about this is hawk eagles, you can have a lot of convergent evolution, right? One of the hallmarks of true Aquila eagles is they're booted on their legs, which means they have feathers that go all the way down to their toes. Most birds, the tarsi are bare. They're booted all the way down. That convergent trait has converged from other species that are not closely related to the Aquila line. So there are other hawk eagles. The ornate hawk eagle is a very famous one that a lot of people have seen and know about. And again, it's got, cool crest and really neat things about it. And it's got those booted legs, but it's not related to the Aquila eagles. So the fact that there are other, hawk eagles, whatever that means, the fact there are other hawk eagles that do look similar, it's just convergent. But the Cassin's hawk eagle has genetically been shown to be directly related to the Bonellis eagle and the African hawk eagle. So it's closely related to them, diverged at some point. It forms a sister lineage with those. But we don't have too much information other on this particular species. I don't have a weight on it, but it is, again, very widespread, kind of an arid area bird, and but a little on the small side too. Typically, from what I'm reading, it's a little bit smaller than the Bonellis eagle and even the African hawk eagle. The next eagle that we're talking about is we're starting to get into some of the larger eagles. This is the Eastern Imperial eagle. It's a very, very dramatic name, right, for a very dramatic bird. The Eastern Imperial eagle is pretty widespread. It lives in the Nile floodplain throughout Egypt, and it lives throughout the Eastern Mediterranean, the Middle East, northern India, and Central Asia. So that is a very widespread eagle. It, in a lot of ways, does resemble golden eagle as an adult. By weight, it's the averages for the females are about 7.8 pounds. And this is a very it's an eagle that tolerates humanity's encroachment and approach. The only thing I can compare this to from everybody I talk to, is it's kind of like Swainson's hawks in the New World. Swainson's hawks are similar, a little smaller to a red-tailed hawk, but if you get close to a red-tailed hawk, they'll fly off. Swainson's hawks, you can just walk right up to them, they're like, oh, hey, what's going on? That's kind of how Eastern Imperial eagles are. They are much more tolerant of human approach. They're more prone to be, hanging out in the cities and hanging around people. So they're a lot less shy. The adults do look very similar to an adult golden eagle, but their head and kind of this wrist area, we call it their shoulders, but they're not. It's not their shoulders. This is your shoulder. Okay, when a bird is up like this, you can't see their shoulder. So what we always call shoulders in bird watching circles is actually the wrists. So the wrists and then the skin that goes between the wrists and the shoulder, that area has these white flecks and these big white, kind of reflective, cool looking feathers that give it kind of a distinct look. Golden eagles can have these as well. And especially when you're getting into some of the ones like in Scotland have that a lot more. But again, they're all closely related, so you're going to have genetic anomalies like that are going to come up. So the young birds are, a bit more tawny. They're more reddish, they're more orangish, and again, like a lot of these Aquila eagles, it's going to take years for them to get from these tawny colors and these rusty reddish colors to what's basically looks pretty similar to a golden eagle, but with, again, those white markings around the top. These typically are hunters of ground squirrels and hamsters. Rodents make up a huge portion of the number of mammalian species in the world, and ground squirrels in particular. All over the world, there's species of ground squirrels, large and small. And they take over a lot of different environments and in a lot of different specialized ways. And throughout the range, even though, like I said, they're throughout the Nile floodplain and Eastern Mediterranean, Middle East, India, Central Asia, that's a wide range of habitats. But everywhere you're going to go, there's going to be some form of ground squirrel, and that ground squirrels and hamsters more to the north are typically what they are targeting. But eagles are great opportunists, and they will go after whatever they can find. The next eagle that we're talking about is the Spanish imperial eagle, a close relative of the Eastern imperial eagle, but with a much smaller range. This has been very rare eagle at times. The population keeps going up and down. It only lives in Spain, although now a few years ago, through captive breeding programs and re-release into the wild, reintroduction programs, it was also able to extend its range barely into Portugal. But this Spanish imperial eagle basically just lives in Spain. It mostly hunts European hares, and one of the problems is persecution and habitat loss and overhunting of its prey base had reduced it down. By the 1960s, there was only 30 pairs of these left, and because of that, people came in and said, we got to do something about it. So conservation efforts were made. Their numbers were bolstered back up, and by 2011, there were 318 recognized pairs. That's great. That's great that much effort happened. And you think about the range one eagle or a pair of eagles needs, it's like, okay, Spain isn't that big. I mean, you're doing good. You're doing some good conservation. But unfortunately, there is a rabbit hemorrhaging disease that has ripped through Spain. It's also ripped through here in the United States, and this has this terrible, terrible trickle-down effect, because what will happen is you're going to have so there's rabbits, these hares, normally get eaten by the eagles, and when those hares are gone, the eagles have to try to find other prey bases to hunt, and then those prey bases that are not normally predated on by eagles begin to tank. So we see it here in America. Here in Utah, golden eagles used to be all over the place, and now they're super low because the rabbit hemorrhaging disease came through here. The eagles had nothing to hunt, so now they're hunting things like sage grouse and coyotes and foxes and birds and things they don't normally hunt as often. And eventually, if you can't find food, you're going to die. The golden eagles I've seen, most have been targeting kangaroo rats, and it's a big difference between a jackrabbit and a kangaroo rat. So a lot of the eagles just wandered off. They're not maintaining their territories because there's nothing to eat. And that apparently has also been what has happened in Spain. So I wish more work was being done to, I don't know how it works, but if there's any sort of medications or any sort of a shot that could be given to medicate these hares and release them back into the wild so you can have rebolster a breeding population of rabbits, of hares. We need it desperately in so many parts of the world right now. It is tanking things, and so all these efforts to help the Spanish imperial eagle had great impact. But now it's going back down because hares are tanking too. So it's really kind of sad. But hopefully this species, which is a rich, powerful symbol of Spain, hopefully it will continue on into the future. As a young bird, this bird is very tawny and very red, again, like many of these other eagles that we're talking about. And again, 5 or 6 years, eventually it's going to look basically, again, like a golden eagle, but with some of that white up top and a little bit of spotting on the wings. A very regal, noble, very cool looking eagle. And a very large one too. Again, this is an eagle that can be 8.7 pounds on average for the female. So this is a large eagle. It's a proper large eagle. And they're really, really a cool bird. So that is the Spanish eagle. The next eagle is the Gurney's eagle. This is a weird eagle, and this is very hard to get information on. I had to do a lot of digging to get anything of this, or even try to get any photos of any kind. The Gurney's eagle lives in Indonesia and West Papua and Papua New Guinea. Papua is, it's divided in half, and part of it is part of Indonesia, and part of it is Papua New Guinea. So that area and a couple of the islands nearby is where the Gurney's eagle lives. This is a proper large eagle. I'm surprised that I was able to get anything on the weight, because this is not a bird that's normally worked with in any way. And so I did get an average with females of being 6.7 pounds. Again, I'm surprised that other eagles that are much more accessible, they didn't have weights on them than they did for this. Gurney's eagles, they're hard to access. They're hard to come by. They're hard to see. Their range is very, very isolated. It's very dense, and the way they hunt, it's hard to find them. So they're doing great in their range as far as we can tell. But even if you go up on Wikipedia and look up the Gurney's eagle, the picture they have is a drawing, like from the 1800s. So again, this is a hard eagle to find out a lot of information about, but it is a true eagle, and it's going to factor in to some of the related sister clades we're going to talk about. So it's very important. So remember the Gurney's eagle, because it's going to get cool with what it's related to. It hunts mammals, reptiles, birds, and bats. Just like with a lot of these eagles I've mentioned so far, the juveniles are kind of a buff tawny color, and then once they reach adulthood, they're dark. They technically are classified as an Australian bird, because there's islands south of Papua New Guinea that are technically listed as part of Australia, and we have found these Gurney's eagles there. So technically, on your Australian bird lists, you can count it as an Australian bird, geographically speaking, even though they don't exist in mainland Australia. So it's a really cool bird, very large bird, very agile bird, but it seems to be like a jungle version of a golden eagle. And again, 6.7 pounds, that's pretty big. That's not huge, but that's a decent-sized eagle. And again, they have just adapted. All members of the Aquila eagle family are very adaptable, and they have just adapted. If you're catching giant fruit bats, that's not normal fare. When I think of a member of the Aquila family, I think big open, tundra and going after hares or jackrabbits. That's what I picture. It's like you're catching giant 5-foot wingspan fruit bats out of trees and birds and stuff. It's pretty neat. So this is a very cool eagle. But again, unfortunately, we don't have as much information on it as I would like. So hopefully we can find more out about the species. But, Papua New Guinea and New Guinea proper, that whole area is so isolated. There's so much stuff going in there. Like, there is even legitimate possibility that there are still thylacines there. There is work being done right now to confirm this, but it is possible that the extinct, the Tasmanian tiger, the thylacine, might still exist in Papua and Papua New Guinea. That is how isolated it is. And so who knows? It's kind of cool to see, but I think the Gurney's eagle is a cool one. And again, remember it. Think of it in terms of geography, because we're going to be talking about some interesting eagles, and it's interesting to see how genetically how they moved throughout time, and who went where and who's related to what. It can be very surprising at times, and it will be soon. The next eagle is one that I absolutely love. It's one of my favorite eagles by color, and that is the Tawny eagle. The Tawny eagle lives in Central and South Africa and India and in the Middle East. It's not a very big eagle. Average for females is 5.5 pounds. So decent size. It's a fair-sized eagle, but not like an eagle. It's not like a golden eagle, but it's a big eagle, but, kind of medium-sized. They're smaller than a steppe eagle. Now we're gonna get to that in a minute, but they're a polymorphic species, and they scavenge more than other eagles. Now, we as humans give a lot of crap about that. You'll see in bird books and biology, like, oh, this species does a lot of scavenging. Oh, as if it's somehow more noble if you actively hunt and kill something yourself and eat it. But, oh, this bird over here is scavenging. It's eating there's a roadkill. Aren't we scavengers? I don't know about you, but I don't kill a cow every day of my life. I might eat a hamburger, but I'm scavenging that from somebody else who killed it. So what's this big thing? Oh, no more noble of it. If you have a free meal is a free meal. And in a lot of these environments, for example, where tawny eagles live, there's a lot of much larger predators that kill and leave out leftovers. There's also a lot of megafauna. You have things like, just all the megafauna of Africa that is just going to die. If you have a big herd of wildebeest, some of those wildebeest are just going to die of disease of old age or old age. And, oh, hey, there's a good free easy meal. I'm going to go pick off of that. So it's actually survival insurance. Hey, I'm going to take whatever meal I can wherever I can. Sure, I'm capable of hunting, but over time, there's so many great opportunities, I'm going to do a lot of scavenging. So I dislike the fact that people put down scavenging among raptors as some sort of a dishonorable behavior. It's like, it's what we do. We don't kill our own dinner every day. Most parts of the world, most people get food that has already been killed by somebody else. So we're scavengers as well. And I don't see us ripping on us for that. It's like, did you kill that cow? No, I just got a hamburger from McDonald's. Oh, how unnoble. We don't do that. It's ridiculous. So, this is a very cool species. Its activity drives smaller raptors off of a kill. So what it will do is it will sometimes, if another smaller raptor has caught something, this is a species that will put on the afterburners and fly faster and dive and chase them off and get them to drop their kill. This is a species that will not only eat a lot of roadkills, but also will hunt refuge dumps and slaughterhouses, especially throughout India. If there's a section of the village where it's like the slaughterhouse and the parts of the animal they're not going to eat, they just chuck out, and the tawny eagles will come and eat it. And again, that might seem very vulture-like, but it's an excellent survival strategy. Hey, if you have free food, somebody's already cut it up and butchered and it's here, and there's enough of it around that we can fly in there and eat it and don't have to worry about fighting off for it. Great, that's wonderful. I mean, you have the same thing with bald eagles. Well, bald eagles will do that too, where they'll go in mass in areas, and it's like we don't have to fight that much because there's enough food right here for all of us. It works. So I don't like that people rip on them in that way and say it's a less noble eagle. No, it's just smart survival insurance. Like, why should a tawny eagle be like, well, there's this free meal here, there's a free fresh roadkill, or there's free refuge left out at a slaughterhouse, but I'm not going to eat it because I'm an eagle, I'm a noble symbol. Really? No. Tawny eagles are freaking cool. They often hunt as a pair, and they will hunt a fair amount of avian prey. And it's even been noted they've gone after spectacled pigeons and even flamingos. So this is an eagle that normally is kind of ponderous in its flight and kind of phoning it in. But when it needs to, it can be very agile, very fast, very nimble. This is an eagle I really, really, really want to fly. I love the coloration. I love the range and the color differences. Tawny eagles can be light, they can be dark, they have cool range, cool color differences. And I really want to work with one of these birds desperately. I don't know I'll ever get the chance, but I hope in the comments down below, if you've ever worked with a tawny eagle, please in the comments let us know what it was like. And again, with any of these birds in this whole thing, you can always email me at benwoodruffalconry@gmail.com if you have worked with one and would like to be spotlighted on a video with your tawny eagle or any of these eagles. If you want to share your personal experience on one of my videos, I welcome it. But again, tawny eagles are an eagle I absolutely love. I think they're really cool. I think they're really beautiful. I love their colors, and I love they're a bit smaller size, like 5.5 pounds. They're not huge, but they're big enough. This is a cool little eagle. It may not be the gamiest, fastest, most aggressive thing, but I think they're awesome. The next eagle that I'm talking about is the steppe eagle. Now, by the way, I have to mention, I appreciate your patience on this. Most of my videos, if you ever see my videos, I don't script them. I might make a couple of notes on the side for dates. This isn't script, but I've got notes like this today. And again, I'm still recovering from having 3 strokes and cardiac arrest just a few months ago, and so my ability to read properly and quickly is not easy. So please be patient. If you see me looking over, I am looking at notes here that I made myself from my research, and I'm trying to get this right. So thank you for your patience with this, and let's get into the steppe eagle. The steppe eagle, closely related to a tawny eagle, and in past times they were considered subspecies of each other, and depending on who you are in the world, sometimes they still are. They live in Egypt, they live in Western Africa, they live in the Middle East, they live in India, they live in Southern and Northern Asia, on both sides of the Himalayas. Not in the Himalayas itself, but on both sides of the Himalayas. That's a wide range, and it's a wide prey base that they're going after. So this is a very adaptable species. It is it is larger on average than the tawny eagle, even though it can have color morphs that look almost the same. On average, the females are 8.6 pounds, so that's substantially larger than a tawny eagle. They are specialist ground squirrel hunters. Any Aquila eagle is going to be willing to go after ground squirrels if they see them, but this is really kind of what they specialize on. And they have a wider gape than a tawny eagle. That's one of the things you notice, because you can have a tawny eagle and a steppe eagle that side by side look real similar, but one of the things you watch for is that the gape, the mouth opening is a lot wider. Now, this is an interesting point because we have a hawk, a buteo, a soaring hawk, a buzzard in the New World called a ferruginous hawk, which is our biggest hawk in the United States. And again, hawk, if you're looking at this elsewhere in the world, in the United States, we use the term hawk interchangeably for buzzards like buteos and accipiters, or true hawks, like a goshawk. We shouldn't, but we do. So ferruginous hawk, it should be called the ferruginous buzzard. Some people say it should be considered a member of the eagle family, but doesn't matter for this thing. The ferruginous hawk has a super wide gape, and it also focuses in and hones in on things like ground squirrels and prairie dogs here in North America. And one of the things it is known for is having that wider gape is that it will swallow food whole. It will just grab like a ground squirrel and swallow it whole. You have the same adaptation with steppe eagles. They're targeting ground squirrels. And again, the rule of nature is if you catch food, it doesn't belong to you until it's in your stomach. Because just because you catch it doesn't mean something can't come along and attack you and try to steal your food. So again, the faster you can get it inside of you, the better. And that's what the steppe eagle does, is it will try to grab a ground squirrel and try to swallow it whole if it can. It has no problem tearing it apart, but if it can, it will just slurp it on down whole, which is pretty wild, almost kind of like an owl. So I think that's interesting. The steppe eagle has that same kind of wider gape adaptation that the ferruginous hawk does here. This is a bird that will scavenge, but it has also been trained to actively hunt off the fish directly. It has been used in falconry and it is often trained in the Middle East and in India. In Europe, you will see this bird used more for raptor displays and raptor demonstrations. Hey, we're going to go see a falconry flighted show. It has been used in falconry in Europe, but much more in the Middle East and India, where it is actively hunted off the fist. It's actually kind of fun to see in the Middle East. A lot of people will hunt these off the fist right out of their car hawking with an eagle, or they'll have an open top car and they're driving along and have it go after and catch something. It's pretty impressive. So again, it is a more ponderous eagle because it is one that, kind of like the Tawny, where it's prone to scavenge and go after ground squirrels and stuff. But just like any true Aquila eagle, it can be pushed and trained to hunt more actively and more aggressively, and to tap into its true abilities, to its agility. So this is a very widespread bird in its migration. It goes in far lengths. During migration, it will congregate in loose aggregate groups where food is plentiful. Kind of like bald eagles, but again, not at all related to a bald eagle. So if you have, and this is true really of any buzzard, any eagle, you can have this. If there's food, it's going to pull animals in. Same thing, grizzly bears all congregate during the salmon run. So it's expected, but you see it more so where you will see just a ton of tawny eagles during migration that will congregate in areas where food is plentiful, and it's pretty neat. How far they migrate is ridiculous. These birds, GPS tagged migrants, have gone anywhere from 3,489 miles to 6,051 miles. The Earth is only 24,000 miles around. So if you think about the fact that this is a bird that is able to have that kind of a range of migration, that's incredible. It is really pretty neat. They, in addition to hunting ground squirrels, they will hunt marmots, which are much bigger. It's like a ground squirrel on steroids. Some of these things are massive. We have marmots like as big as a badger in America. They'll hunt ptarmigans, which are a type of mountain grouse, and they'll also hunt hedgehogs. It's just kind of wild to think of a bird hunting something so spiky, but again, that's what they'll do. So that is the steppe eagle, a bird with a rich history, a bird with a wide range, and a bird that I would also very much love to work with if I ever got the chance. The next eagle I'm talking about is a really cool one. Gorgeous eagle, strikingly beautiful, and that is the Verreaux eagle. The Verreaux eagle lives in Central and Southern Africa, but it's very patchy. Most eagles just kind of fill a range. These eagles, they like to live in very specific rocky outcrop cliffy areas. And a lot of its range is not as such. A lot of its range is really kind of open but it wants to key in on rocky cliffs where it hunts, because it hunts a very specific prey that I'll get to in a minute. They're big. This is a big eagle. This is like 10 to 15 pounds. This is a proper eagle and a really, really cool bird. So one of the interesting things that I want you to remember, their tarsi, which is the last bone before you hit the feet, are short. They're stumpy for an Aquila eagle. Remember that, because we're going to get into this into how some of these eagles are related. Short tarsi, kind of weird. Other than that, stately in every way, but kind of a stumpy tarsi. Very kind of unusual. The juveniles, they're pretty. They're spotted. They have stripes. And again, like any eagle, it's going to take 5-6 years to get their full coloration. And once they get their adult coloration, good heavens, they're gorgeous. They're a proper black. Most birds if they have a black, it's a reflective black that kind of reflects back some reds and some oranges and some browns. Not these guys. This is light absorbing black that's just in deep, rich, striking black. But on their rump and kind of under their coverts, under their shoulders, they have this vibrant white that's just so beautiful, so striking. What's really cool about these is that they almost exclusively hunt one prey item, and that is hyraxes. Two species, the Cape hyrax and also the yellow spotted rock hyrax. What the heck is a hyrax? Well, I'm glad you asked. A hyrax is a living relative of elephants. Elephants, yeah. Yeah, the elephants, Proboscidae, the family line of Proboscidae, the living close relatives of elephants are elephants, and then the order Sirenia. So you've got like your manatees and your sea cows, right? Those kind of things, and hyraxes. These guys are genetically super closely related. I can do a whole separate video just on them and how and why that's the case. But DNA doesn't lie, and these guys are closely related. They fill a similar role to big old huge grounds. I mean, honestly, marmots. They fill a role of marmots. They live in rocky areas, and they scurry and scamper under the rocks, and they'll come out and eat the grasses, and then when Verreaux eagle comes, they scamper under. So they're filling the same ecological role as marmots in the mountains. But instead, it's miniature elephant relatives that are being hunted. Now, if you're in Australia, these guys fill the same ecological role as rock wallabies, which are just the coolest macropods on Earth. I just absolutely love them so much. Rock wallabies with their stripes and their spots and their same thing. They're hanging out in the rocks and they go and they and a wedge-tailed eagle comes along, they go and hide. Same thing. So you have certain niches. The geology is conducive. Like that kind of geology of these rocks and these cliffy areas, they're going to have lots of places to hide. And they're going to give little tufts of little bunch grasses that are going to come out that are highly edible to a grazer. So, rock wallabies, hyraxes, marmots, different parts of the world, totally unrelated species that have evolved in size and shape and even color to fill the same kind of role. And I think it's really kind of neat. So, 90% of what a Verreaux eagle eats is rock hyraxes. Very strange. Very cool. I love these eagles so much. I would do anything to work with or film a Verreaux eagle in any way, shape, or form. I think they are one of the most handsome raptors on the planet in every way, shape, and form. They're stately, they're large, they're huge, they're predaceous, they're active hunters, they're loyal mates. Unfortunately, because they live in such weird, isolated little pockets, you don't see much about them. Occasionally you'll see one in a captive breeding program where somebody might use them for education so you can get them more information. But they're just really kind of out there. They're kind of out there in the middle of Africa in these little rocky outcrop areas. And so, sadly, we don't see a lot of information and a lot of footage of them. I wish we had a lot more because these are really, really cool eagles. The next eagle might be my absolute favorite eagle on Earth. Let me put it this way. I've been a falconer for years and years and years, since I was a kid. And now I'm getting old. I've been a falconer since the 1900s. I've worked with a lot of birds. There's a lot of birds that I would love to work with. I would love to train a harpy eagle. I'd love to work with a Philippine eagle and just share information about what that's like, what their personality is like, what their training is like. There's all kinds of birds. But if you're like Ben, you get one raptor that you get to work with, that you get to train, and you get to share with people what it is like, what is the experience like, and that's it. You get one more bird of prey for the rest of your life. Of all the raptor species I haven't worked with, I would do anything for this. And that is the Australian wedge-tailed eagle. This is the coolest freaking eagle on Earth. They live in Australia and Tasmania, properly, and barely into Papua New Guinea. Barely into Papua New Guinea. There's a couple on the islands off there have been seen that far north. This is a big eagle. This is a 7 to 10 pound eagle. So again, this is like the size of a golden eagle. But unlike a golden eagle, and like a Verreaux eagle, and like a Gurney's eagle, these guys have a short tarsi. Why do they have a short tarsi? I'll get to my theories as to why that is. But yeah, that last leg bone before you hit the feet is kind of stumpy, kind of surprisingly so. These things, genetically, they form a sister lineage with wedge tails. And wedge-tails form a sister lineage with Gurney's and Verreaux eagles. Gurney's eagle makes sense because Gurney's eagle is just straight up north. It's just up in Papua, right? Papua New Guinea. So you can see that they'd be related. Well, Verreaux eagle are in Africa. But still, they form a sister clade together. Those three eagles do. And actually, they form a sister clade along with a fourth the golden eagle. So golden eagles, which we'll get to in a minute, they're all over the world. Golden eagles, Gurney's eagles, Verreaux eagles, and Australian wedge-tailed eagles. Those four form a glorious sister clade of the coolest Aquila eagles there are. The most gorgeous and the coolest, and they're so cool. Okay, so let's talk about these. Okay, one of the interesting things about these eagles, they have quite a range. You know, Tasmania gets pretty darn cold. They're in Tasmania. Tasmania, the biggest wedge-tails on records are in Tasmania. But they're also barely all the way up to Papua New Guinea, where you're getting into the tropics. So you're getting into cold weather and, cold, misty mountains, and all the way to tropics and all the deserts of Australia. You're going to have a wide range. You're going to have a wide range in the diversity of how the birds are going to appear. So, you might not know this. Birds of prey right here, this area that goes from their nostrils, there's this little triangle patch here, and there is skin. There is skin there that has rich blood vessels, and when the bird gets hot, it works like engine coolant. The blood will circulate through there, pick up the heat, and pick it up with salt water that will run through, and that salt water will exit out the nostrils. And so they pick up the heat and dissipate it. Something we also see in dinosaur skulls too. You can watch my videos on dinosaurs and how they have the exact same setup. So this is a way to get rid of heat. So when you start breathing, you'll see that patch will move very, very quickly because they're trying to get air inside and out circulating alongside those nostril patches. That dissipates heat really well. It's a similar thing to where elephant ears. Elephants, they're so big, they're so hot, they retain heat. Well, we're going to run blood through these ears, and the ears will flap, and they're going to cool off the blood, and then it goes back in through the whole circulatory system. It's a good design. It works well. Wedge-tailed eagles, the more arid you get, the more bald they are here, and kind of right around here, the front of their eyes, and right around here, a lot of times that can be quite bald. And other areas in Australia, it's totally black-capped. So it's just something to watch for. And again, that is an adaptation for heat. Australia was not always hot, but it has become increasingly so, increasingly arid and increasingly hot, except for in the coastal areas. These eagles are so cool. Wedge-tailed eagles have a wedge tail. So the tail itself, the deck feathers, the center feathers are super long, and then they kind of wedge out. This gives more agility, and it makes them awesome. Makes them so cool looking. It is interesting to note the Verreaux eagle of Africa, which is part of the sister clade with these, does have a slight wedge-tailed shape compared to other Aquila eagles. So you can see the relation. You got a little bit of wedge tailing there. It's kind of like looking at a donkey and a zebra. Donkeys and zebras are super closely related. And if you look at donkeys do have a few stripes. They have stripes down their back, and they have a few stripes along their shoulders. Watch for it. Next time you see a donkey, look on the legs, look on the shoulders, look around the neck, and you'll see a few stripes, a few little stripes. It's kind of the same thing. Verreaux eagles have a little bit of a wedge tail, and then wedge-tailed eagles, coolest tail of probably any eagle, except for maybe a harpy eagle. But still, I still think wedge tails are so cool. Wedge tails evolved to hunt macropods. Macropods are like kangaroos and wallabies, and they still do hunt them. These things, if you are going to hunt a kangaroos and wallabies too, but kangaroos, good heavens, they're dangerous. They can kick, they can rear up on their hind legs. They can rear up on their tail and kick. They have claws. I've got 2 skeletons of red kangaroos, and the claws on these things, man, they just they can mess you up. And so if you're like, yeah, I'm a member of the Aquila eagle family, and we're in Australia, well, what is there to eat? Macropods. Okay, let's do it. That's the attitude of members of the Aquila family, and wedge-tailed eagles have mastered it. They'll hunt just about anything you want. They'll hunt birds. They absolutely do hunt bats, but they've evolved to hunt macropods. And I'm sorry, you don't get cooler than that. You cannot be cooler than I'm a member of the Aquila eagle family. I hunt kangaroos. Really? That is so cool. So incredibly cool. Now, these eagles just won't quit. these eagles have been persecuted in their early days, and people shot them up and thought of them as, oh, they're going to harm livestock, which, yeah, they could. You bring out sheep, sure, they could kill a sheep or something, sure. But people, like, tried to eradicate them and killed tons of them. Now, of course, thankfully, they are protected, but humans brought in rabbits and hares to Australia. Idiots, dang it. We always do that. We all do stuff like that. We'll bring in a new animal. Oh, man, we screwed everything up. We always do that as humans. Well, these rabbits, of course, overpopulated in a new area that they had no natural predation. And these overhunted, persecuted wedge-tailed eagles are like, all right, okay, time to kill the rabbits. So they're hunting these hares, and they have done great everywhere. So their numbers are still pretty darn good because they've just adapted to whatever humans threw at them. I love seeing how they adapt. There's beautiful photos and videos of them nesting in big old eucalyptus trees, big old, subtropical, but also the absolute arid desert conditions. You'll see big old dead tree, and they're making a big old nest. And it's half made out of barbed wire. I'll see, hopefully I can find it. I might know a book that has a picture of it in, but I just love that it's like, you're building a nest out of barbed wire. How bad A is that? That is cool. Wedge-tailed eagles, they are glorious. They are so beautiful. They are so powerful. They are so capable. And they just, everything that is actually cool about Australia is in a wedge-tailed eagle. Now, another thing is, I don't know how to put this other than terms. I'm an artist. I paint. And so I'm very mindful of pigments and how light reflects off of things. There is wedge-tailed eagles as adults are black, but like a Verreaux eagle is proper black. A Verreaux eagle is black. It's just absorbing all the color. Okay? And you're getting nothing back. So it's proper black. Wedge-tailed eagles, they look black, but there is this angry, rusty red beneath that is reflecting back. I looked at a bunch of pictures. You'll see. If you look at a bunch of pictures of them long enough, you'll start to see what I'm saying. That even though they are black, there is an under rusty red that is reflecting back. So you don't pick it up as red, but there is an under red that is there, that is this rusty, angry, aggressive red, a pigment that it just, I love it. I love it because every time you see them, if you see good videos that are properly filmed with proper coloration, then you will see it. And it is, it's something I absolutely love about them. I have never gotten to work with a wedge-tailed eagle personally. And again, if there was one raptor that I could work with, I would die a happy man if I could work with a wedge-tailed eagle in any capacity because they inspire me in every way. Their evolution, their adaptation, their tenacity, their size, their colors, the fact that they have this big old cool wedge tail, the fact that they still actively hunt kangaroos. That is so cool. So absolutely love them. So anyways, thank you for indulging my passion for this species, but that is the wedge-tailed eagle. Now we have finally reached the queen of all Aquila eagles, her ladyship herself, the golden eagle. The proper golden eagle is the eagle. It is the most widespread of any Aquila eagles and arguably the most widespread eagle in the world, depending on how you look at it. It lives in the northern part of the northern hemisphere, but it's branched out and just kind of colonized the world because it's adaptable. It's huge. This is like an eagle that can be 14 pounds on average. Now, that being said, there's a big size range. And again, this is an eagle that can pack it down, that can eat several pounds of food and can pack on tons of muscle weight and fat in its body. So there's a wide range. And depending on where you are in the world, I had some friends who went to Mongolia to some of the eagle festivals and were talking about some of the size and weights and showed me measurements and photos. It's like, oh, geez, this is the same species as the golden eagles I've worked with, but they're like a third larger than the eagles we have here. So absolutely crazy. They have a rich history in the use of falconry all around the world. Anywhere they exist, they've been used in falconry because they're very capable hunters. Now, of course, in Mongolia, there has been and still is a rich history with hunting with them. They are used, of course, to hunt rabbits, but also foxes and wolves. Now, the wolves are a little smaller than what we have here in the New World, but still, you have an eagle that you're hunting wolves with. That's pretty darn impressive. This is done from horseback. You know, you're going up to a high place and you flush out a wolf down below, send the eagle out, it tackles it, and you rush in really quickly, and then you got to dispatch that wolf. So the eagle hunters in Mongolia will have a special knife that is pointy. It's a dagger, but there's no blade. It's just pointy, so you can just dispatch the wolf without the eagle getting cut up. And that might sound harsh if you're not into it, but this has been a way of life for thousands of years, and it's a way to get meat and fur to have clothing to keep warm in the cold Mongolian winters. Now, in Europe, this golden eagle was used extensively for hunting, of course, hares and foxes, but also roe deer, which it is still used to hunt. So you have an eagle being flown off the fist that can catch deer. Now, go ahead and look up videos of it. There's lots of them online that I can't snag them for this video, but go ahead and check it out. There's tons of videos of them hunting roe deer, which is pretty incredible. They have ratcheting talons. The talons have kind of like they lock in, and we did with a pressure gauge test with one of my golden eagles that was very angry before release, and we came up with 1,200 psi. So the grip we were able to get her to exert was 1,200 pounds of crushing grip per square inch. That's like, you know, what, like setting a piano and a half on somebody, stabbing a knife, you know, backed up by a piano. I mean, that's incredible crushing grip. And they don't slash. They just crunch until their prey stops wiggling. Very impressive. I've had one golden eagle that was a rehab eagle stabbed through my hand here and out the other side, just went with its back talon, the hallux. And fortunately, the feet were here, so I was able to roll it out. And I still have a little bit of problem with that. They're very powerful. In America, they mostly hunt rabbits. They also hunt in the wild on their own. They also hunt foxes, coyotes, mountain goats, bighorn sheep, antelope, and deer. Those bigger prey animals, they don't fly away with. They just knock them over and crunch until they stop wiggling, or sometimes they will grab like a mountain goat and drag it off the cliff. And I remember flying my golden eagle up one of my males, a little tiny male I was flying, up a little Cottonwood Canyon, and oh, good heavens, the mountain goats would, every time I fly by, and I wasn't hunting mountain goats, I was just teaching him to soar around me. And boy, the mountain goats were terrified every time they go scrambling, because they know all you have to do is just grab them, go a few feet, drop, goat falls, dies, and again, there's all kinds of videos of them doing that in the wild online too, if you have a stomach for that. As far as the capabilities, this is a tenacious eagle. They will hunt whatever they want. My smallest golden eagle I ever flew was Rage. He was tiny. He was like 6 pounds. He got 3 coyotes by accident. Going after or letting him flush to see a rabbit. Oh, it wasn't a rabbit, it was a coyote. So that's gutsy, just to be able to do that. They can hunt birds. My God, that same eagle, Rage. One time, I was hunting, looking for snowshoe hares, cottontails, down by a river, down by the Jordan River, and I was on a bridge, and these 2 coots came flying along. Coots are something called marsh hens, and they looked up and they saw me in a golden eagle, and one of them hit the bridge, fell to the ground, and the eagle took off and jumped in the water and grabbed it. It's like, well, okay, opportunists, that makes sense. But they're able to hunt a wide range of prey. They're prolific. You can soar hawk them. You can hunt them off the fist. You could car hawk them just like they do in the Middle East with tawny eagles if you had a way to do it with an open top. You know, they're very versatile, very powerful, and an incredible species. They're so big that there's a weight, when you're flying them, there's a weight difference where they're flying as much to flap to stay up as move forward. And once you get them to the right weight, then they're just like a balloon, and they're just only moving forward, and they're not doing that. It's just moving forward instead. And once you get that magical weight, it's incredible to see them take advantage of their full speed. Now, one thing I want to point out is a hybrid. There, in Canada, there are some breeders who have tried doing, and I think this maybe has happened in Europe too, crossing a Harris hawk with a golden eagle. And to me, this is one of the most promising hawk or eagle hybrids that could possibly be made, because you're getting a more nimble, more agile, longer-legged, faster version of a golden eagle that's more like the size of like a big giant frugivorous hawk, but more nimble. I know that that's probably never going to happen in the United States, but I think it's a really exciting proposition. It would be cool to work with one and see what they can do. But the golden eagle is the queen of the eagles. So many countries of the world have the golden eagle as their symbol because it's a noble bird. We put them on top of our flagpoles because it makes sense. There's more powerful predators. You could have a bear or a wolf on top of a flagpole, but there's something about golden eagles that inspires us. There's something about them that is really kind of neat and unique. Now, and I got to mention, why are they called golden eagles? There's a lot of eagles that we've listed today that are brownish, kind of goldish, maybe gold here. Golden eagles, some of them have proper golden hackles. So all up on top, they have, reddish feathers, but some of them will have proper gold right towards the nape, right up top. And I've had to argue with people online about this because I don't have any really good pictures of ones that demonstrate this. Not all of them are this way, and regionally, some like the Scottish golden eagles, a lot of them seem to be that way. Rage was my goldest golden eagle, but I don't have any great pictures really from behind showing that. So golden eagles all on the neck and up will, as an adult, have kind of a reddish gold, but some do have proper gold at the top. Not all of them do, but that's where they get their name. That's why they're not just called a big brown eagle. It's because they actually do have golden hackles. So very cool bird. And that kind of wraps it up for golden eagles. Now, all I've listed here are the true Aquila eagles. I'm now going to get into the sister lineage. Battery's about to die on this video, so I'm going to put this aside and recharge, and we're going to go into the sister lineage of some of these other eagles that are sometimes considered Aquila eagles, sometimes not, but in the interest of being accurate and covering everything, then I wanted to include them in. So next we're going to get into the sister lineage of the Aquila eagles. Okay. Now, I got my battery charged, and so we're back to do the sister lineages of the Aquila eagles. Now, again, it's 2024 right now. People come and go, people change their views on things, and as we do more genetic studies and genetic testing, we kind of reclassify the taxonomy of a lot of these species. Depending on where you are in the world, some of these eagles I'm mentioning might still be called locally Aquila eagles. But according to genetics, these either form a sister lineage, or if they are true Aquila, then we actually have to broaden and add some others as well. So these are currently kind of the sister lineage that goes along with Aquila. They branched off from Aquila, and they may actually still be Aquila, depending on how you view it. So the first of these is the greater spotted eagle. Now these live in Africa, Asia, India, and Eastern Europe. They're about 4 to 7 pounds, so kind of a small eagle. And they're an opportunistic scavenger. So they will do a lot of hunting. They will hunt rodents and frogs, water birds, reptiles, and insects. So again, this is not as much of a pursuit hunter, and it lives in a lot of environments where there is a lot of biomass that can be consumed that doesn't require active and aggressive pursuit hunting. So the greater spotted eagle, again, is a species that, again, like I said, earlier with some of the other species, like tawny eagles, we might view an active hunter as being inspiring. And we might view something that does more scavenging or hunts easier prey like insects or reptiles or frogs or things like that. We might view that as like, oh, that's less inspiring. The animals don't care about inspiring us. They're just surviving. And ease of hunt, it's like you're going to go after whatever is available and it's easy. So if you have easy things to eat, you're going to go after them, and humans are no exception. I made the example earlier and I'll make it again. Humans are capable of hunting. We're capable of running down or using weapons to catch and hunt and kill and eat things. But given the option, you would gladly accept a hamburger handed to you over going and like, I'm going to go run down a gazelle and grab it easily. But if you had no other option, of course you will hunt. But given the option, you will take the easier route. Nature is no different. So a lot of these birds that are in areas where there is a lot of smaller life, again, like frogs and insects and human left out, scraps. You have a lot of things where there's parts of the animals that just kind of get chucked out and like, hey, there's a lot of people around. There's a lot of food around. We're going to eat this. And I think that makes things kind of available, kind of interesting, and the greater spotted eagle is no different in that way. So it's a pretty eagle. It's beautiful. It's got some amazing markings, but again, kind of on the smaller end, 4 to 7 pounds. And it is closely related to the lesser spotted eagle, which is a bit smaller. Again, also, you're looking at about 4 pounds, 4 to 5 pounds. So it's it's a smaller version, basically, of a greater spotted eagle. They live also. They breed in northeastern Europe, but they winter in Africa, so you get a lot of migration going on. They were formerly classified the same as an Indian spotted eagle, but now those have been separated, which leads us to our next species, which is the Indian spotted eagle. Indian spotted eagles are in India and Southeast Asia. They have a broad habitat range as far as where they will nest and hunt and what they will do. But the interesting thing about these 3 spotted eagles, they all do look kind of like miniature versions of a golden eagle. But all 3 of them can and do interbreed at times, which makes classification a little difficult. Now, we have this happen with other raptors as well. You'll have like peregrines and prairies. Peregrine falcons and prairie falcons will sometimes interbreed in the wild. And much more commonly, gyr falcons and saker falcons on the edges where their ranges overlap, they do regularly interbreed. And sometimes that hybrid is viewed as its own species. They sometimes just call it an Alti falcon or an Alti saker falcon. But that can happen. So we have that with these 3 eagle species. Anytime their range over crosses, sometimes they do interbreed, which make things a little complicated. But genetically, they are all 3 listed. The greater spotted eagle, the lesser spotted eagle, and the Indian spotted eagle are all listed as separate species. Then one of my favorites, and this is a weird one, which is the black eagle. Sometimes it's called the Indian black eagle, and that's what I usually like to refer it to, because when you say black eagle, a lot of people think it's referring to the Verreaux eagle. Now remember, the Verreaux eagle is a proper black, and I mentioned that earlier. It's got this proper light-absorbing black, no pigment reflection, and it's huge eagle. Verreaux is a big eagle. The Indian eagle is not as big. I couldn't get proper measurements on the weight, but they're very unique. They're very different. They have some very odd morphologies about their body and how they live. So first of all, they have a really cool banded tail. Very distinctly banded. You don't normally see that. Their tail itself is a bit longer than you would expect for an eagle, for an Aquila eagle or a sister lineage to an Aquila eagle, which again gives them more maneuverability. They'll hunt all kinds of mammals, including some giant species of squirrel. There's some giant, tropical squirrels in India they'll hunt. They regularly hunt bats, include giant fruit bats. They'll hunt birds. But what they're probably most famous for is they are prolific nest hunters. They have... It's kind of strange. If you look at the talons, the 2 inner talons are longer and straighter. And ironically, the thing I compare it to most, if you ever look at a cassowary, which is a flightless ratite, the other members of the family, like emus and, rheas, things like that, they have the 3 regular claws you'd expect. But cassowaries have these inner claws that are straight and much longer, and they use it to kick. Well, these black eagles, or Indian black eagles, they are... they have these much straighter inner talons, much longer, much straighter, and I couldn't find really good pictures to really accurately show it, but the pictures I have kind of show it. But one of the things they do is they will hunt full nests. They will go glide through the canopy and they find a nest of a bird. They will just go through and they will just grab the entire nest and fly off with the nest, and then eat the baby birds or the eggs wherever they fly off and land it too. So there is belief that having those inner talons being straighter, that is for the purpose, that is for grabbing into nests and dragging them away. I don't really see how that would be, because if you're maneuverable and it's not just a glide, if you're just grabbing and pulling off, I would think a hooked nest would be better. So maybe it has absolutely nothing to do. Maybe whatever the reasons that they have very straight inner talons is not at all related to the fact that they will rake and take a whole nest away. Maybe those are 2 separate attributes and traits and habits that are unrelated. But if you read books, there's not much information about this. If you read books or online, never got the internet, but my whole life, it's about the only thing you ever read about this bird in the book is that it has these long, straight inner talons, and it will grab a whole nest and carry away a whole nest, and that's what they're for. That's what it always says. So I'm putting it in there for being more complete, but I'm not convinced that that is what it was for. I think a longer, more curved claw talon would be better than having a longer straight one. But for whatever reason, they have it, and it's not a trait that you see in raptors normally of any kind. And so it is unique to this bird. One thing that is not ever brought up about this bird is it has enormous secondaries. The secondary feathers are really long. You can see it from a side view when the bird is, you can see the side angle. Those secondaries, it's almost like condors, where condors and some of the big New World vultures, when they're folded up, their secondaries are so long that it'll extend almost covering their primaries. You have the same thing with, a similar thing with bald eagles. Bald eagles compared to golden eagles, and I got a picture I'll show, you can kind of see the difference. That the secondary feathers on a bald eagle are much longer. This, in the case of bald eagles, allows them to fly very slowly over water without dropping, and then grab a fish and take off. So it's about normally that having those long but very broad wings, oversized secondaries is, again, to allow you to fly slow without dropping elevation. We don't know what it's for, but we know that among all the Aquila eagles and among the relatives and the sister clades of the Aquila eagles, this is kind of unusual. We also see this with the common black hawk. It is a New World species, very unusual bird, and it's actually kind of a type of small eagle, genetically speaking. Not an Aquila eagle, but kind of an eagle lineage, where it has multiple years to molt into its adult colors. And a common black hawk, same thing. We have them barely here in Utah. I've done a lot of research on them in the field, and they have the same thing. They have these oversized secondaries, so that when their wings are folded up, their tail looks short. And people think, oh yeah, Black Hawks have a short tail. No, they don't. They just have long secondaries that cover up most of the tail. If you see them in flight, their tail's perfectly long. So kind of an interesting thing, kind of an interesting point. They're an unusual bird. They're really cool. I think they should be renamed. Because when you say black eagle, nobody is thinking of the Indian black eagle. So I think the Indian black eagle or the black eagle should be called the Indian eagle. Or something like that, the great Indian eagle. And I think the Verreaux eagle should be called the black eagle. But these are common names, and common names come and go, and you can call them whatever you want. But I'm just saying, the problem is, if you look up black eagle, which again, the species name that what I'm talking about is a black eagle. If you look it up online, you're going to find all kinds of other pictures. You're going to find all stupid AI images of like a black version of a bald eagle. You're going to find tons of pictures of Verreaux eagles and lots of other birds. You'll see, kind of a darker golden eagle, and you'll see, a really dark melanistic steppe eagle. And it's like, no, a black eagle is not an eagle that's black. It's a species. It's the Indian black eagle. And I think it should be called the Indian eagle. That's my opinion, and I think a Verreaux eagle should be called a black eagle. But that just is what it is. Okay, moving on to the next one. It's a very small bird. It's the Wahlberg's eagle. The Wahlberg's eagles are African. They're very small. They're tiny. They weigh the females are like 1,400 grams, 1,400 grams. That is nothing. That's like a red-tailed hawk. They're very small. They hunt birds, and oddly, they will hunt raptors. They will hunt and target other species of birds of prey, hunt them, kill them, and eat them. That's not usual. Usually with birds of prey, sometimes you'll have a bird of prey that will attack and kill another bird of prey, but it's more like for territorial reasons. It's like, you're competition, I'm going to kill you. But these will actually hunt and eat other species of raptors. Other than that, they hunt reptiles, but oddly, they will hunt a lot. They hunt reptiles and mammals, but they hunt a lot of termites and grasshoppers and beetles. So again, you have what's technically an eagle that's going after something as small as termites. But again, like I said, in nature, there is no waste in nature. And so if you have a species that has an opportunity to take a prolific, productive environment and consume food that's just readily available, a beetle's not going to run away very fast. A grasshopper's pretty easy to catch. So if you've got a lot of locusts, a lot of grasshoppers, sure. So even though they will hunt prey as large and agile as other raptors, they will also hunt these smaller, dinkier, less impressive prey items. But that's just what they do, and that is nature. The last eagle of these sister lineages is the booted eagle. Now, this is tiny. It lives in Africa, in the Middle East, in India, and in Europe, and in Asia. So it's got a very broad range. This is tiny. It weighs 840 to 1,025 grams. This is a very small bird. It's like the size of a very small hawk. But they prefer to hunt on the wing. Oddly, they're so small and they're so buoyant. They prefer, most eagles and most buzzards prefer to hunt from a perch if they can. I want to sit in a perch, scan around, look, conserve energy. But booted eagles, they kind of like to just be on the move, just flying around, and they see something and they go after it. They go after small reptiles, small mammals, and birds, but they're very adaptable. And so they're filling a role very similar in a lot of ways to kind of like a grasshopper buzzard. It's kind of how they have fit in. But they have an extremely wide range. They're very effective at what they do. And it's kind of convergent evolution where you have what would have originally been from a larger version of an eagle that's gotten smaller as selective pressures have gotten them to that point. Okay, well, those are the Aquila eagles and the sister lineage. Now, again, the thing to remember is with this sister lineage, we're always learning more. We're always doing more genetic studies, and DNA doesn't lie. And so we can find out how things were related, when they diverged, when they split off from each other, how far back. We can find this out by studying DNA, and it's a fascinating time to live. When I go through, just in my lifetime, the books that I reference, that I've used since childhood, and then I see the most up-to-date genetic information. I've given in this video the most up-to-date information I can, but it's always changing. So if it changes, so be it. Just know this is, as of 2024, kind of where things are at. Eagles are incredible. True eagles, Aquila eagles, inspire us. And again, the golden eagle is the gold standard hallmark of eagle. When you say eagle, Aquila, that's a golden eagle. And a golden eagle is queen of the eagle world, and golden eagles are they're so tenacious. I've got video clips. They're not mine, so I can't share them. But of a golden eagle hanging out with a bunch of bald eagles. So there's a golden eagle on a kill, and there's these bald eagles coming over trying to squabble with it, and a stellar sea eagle, which is arguably the biggest eagle in the world, comes along on the ground and chases off its kill. And this is a little male golden eagle, and it's like, aha, my kill. And then the golden eagle comes back and attacks the stellar sea eagle and chases it off. It's incredible. So really, golden eagles are powerful, they're tenacious, they're aggressive, they're agile, they're nimble for their size, and they're amazing hunters. All of these eagles are incredible in their own right, but the golden eagle is the most successful eagle species on the planet. It is the widest spread, and it will adapt to wherever it has to live. There's golden eagles in the Mediterranean that hunt almost exclusively tortoises, and they'll grab tortoises and they'll fly them up and drop them and crack the shell open. Again, there's golden eagles hunting wolves in Mongolia. There's golden eagles hunting rabbits here. Golden eagles will just adapt to wherever they live. And that is why they're so successful and why they have given rise to all these other lineages. And again, in my opinion, some of the coolest eagles, in addition to the golden, are the Verreaux eagle, the wedge-tailed eagle, and the Gurney's eagle, and those form a sister clade within the Aquila family tree there. I hope you enjoyed learning about all these eagles. If you have watched this all the way to the end, do me a favor and put wedge-tailed eagle in the comments so I know you have watched this to the end. If you could support me, if you could subscribe to this channel, I appreciate it very, very much. It takes a lot of work to get these up and going, and I try to make it easier for you. I intentionally don't have ads in the middle, so I don't get money for doing this, just barely enough to be able to kind of keep the channel up and going as far as the subscriptions for the editing software. And I keep having, computer malfunctions and, having cameras die on me, but I want to keep this up and going. So your support is very much appreciated. If you have questions, if you have comments, You can leave them in the question and comments down below, but also, again, remember, you can send a message to benwoodruffalconry@gmail.com. I'm trying to compile questions, or also if you want to share, like I said, if you would like to do a video with me and share your experience and share your work with eagles or other raptors, I would love to do that and team up and do a video with you. Just reach out to me at benwoodruffalconry@gmail.com. But I hope you enjoyed this. Put a lot of research and time into this video, and I hope it paid off for you. Hope you find it useful in the years to come. And as always, happy hawking.